guess what? In the last episode of Waiting in the Wings, Kate Ashai tagged Janet Curry as today's guest, so I get to talk to her. I'm Mona Wood-Patterson, and let's get to it. Janet Curry is the president of Merely Players' board of directors, and the ways that she keeps this whole operation together should not be underestimated. Her calm, focused, and efficient demeanor has been honed, no doubt, by her years spent in the education, practice, and teaching of mindfulness-based counseling. Janet received her first master's degree in mental health counseling from Seattle University. And in 2018, she dazzled us all by completing a second master's degree program in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy at the University of Oxford in England. She is a certified MBSR teacher trainer with the University of Massachusetts Medical School's Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society, and with the Mindfulness Center at Brown University. Janet's counseling business, Still Point Counseling and Mindfulness Training, is based right here in Durango, and she's focused on supporting individuals in recognizing and developing their own innate resources for coping with difficulty, and for bringing what's deepest and best in them to the challenge of living well, right in the midst of life's ongoing demands. Just typing that list is inspiring. Meeting Janet in person is even more inspiring. I first had that opportunity when I was teaching theater to her daughter, Mandy, and her kindness began a friendship that has lasted for a decade. While she's mostly focused on behind-the-scenes work and vision development with Merely Players, we have been able to get Janet on stage twice. Once in 2014's The Wizard of Oz, where she danced and sang in the chorus and appeared as one of the visiting witches. In 2015, she returned to the stage to make us laugh and to terrorize us when she played Mrs. Gottlieb in our found space rendition of Dead Man's Cell Phone. Janet's most exciting Merely duty of late was when she signed the lease on Merely Underground, a storage unit which we are in the process of converting into a performance space. Janet Curry is funny, smart, supportive, and generous. We appreciate her immensely and intensely, and I'm eager for you to get to know her better. Janet Curry, hello.
Mona Wood-Patterson, hi.
Hi, thanks for doing this. I'm excited to talk to you.
Well, what a real honor to be in not just the Merely Players company, but in the good company of those who've been waiting in the wings before me. So thank you to Kate Ashai for asking me, and I'm honored to do this with you.
Yeah, it's great. You're one of the people that's behind the scenes often, so I'd love for people to get to know a little bit about you. You're our Merely Players board president and have been for a while, and that's great. You put in hours to helping theater survive and be a vital part of this community. So first of all, maybe just telling people why do you do that? Why are you on this team to begin with?
Well, you know, you make it sound like it's some kind of effortful, burdensome thing, but the actual experience I have is that it's just a delight for me to be involved in Merely Players. And, you know, the reason I do it is because I basically do anything for you.
Oh.
So board president was, you know, one option. So of course I said yes. And so just that's really a testament to the contribution you've made and Charles over the years to the community, but in my life as well. And, you know, you were a teacher and mentor for my daughter, and therefore I couldn't do more for you. You know, you gave such a gift to me and giving a gift to her.
Oh, I
So you've
love her.
impacted our lives directly. Yeah. And, you know, we moved here 15 years ago, amazingly. And one of the early things we did was to go to the plays at DHS, at see the high school. I'd heard great things. Um, I have been fortunate. I landed in a family with a mother whose primary passion in the world, I think, is theater. So I had the great good fortune of going to theater from probably the time I could, you know, contain myself in an audience seat, and loved theater and loved introducing theater to the kids. And so we'd heard about you at DHS, and I think the first play we went to was The Tempest. Um,
Nice.
and
It's a good
just
starter.
yeah, it was fantastic. Of course, like so many people have said, I couldn't believe it was a high school production. It was so beautifully done and nuanced and exquisite, and the sets and everything, costumes. So you've impacted our lives here and increased the quality of our lives, but obviously in the community for so many years. And, you know, my sense of theater is it's a very unique art form because it's performed live with people. So in a sense, you're co-creating this experience that I think has a role from, you know, going back into ancient Greece of sort of community ritual and sometimes catharsis and helping us deal with the difficulty of what it is to be human. And as far as I know, nobody got an instruction manual when we landed here. And I think theater is actually one of the ways we have forever helped, you know, us individually and collectively confront the difficulties that come with being human.
Yes, I love it, that live experience. And one day we will get to do that again. but the live experience is such a great way to get our attention. When you're watching a play, you're just there in the moment and may see something framed in a different way that in your busy life you don't take time to do it, and suddenly you're there paying attention to that. And I love that collective and individual paying attention that comes with live theater. It's what you say is beautiful and true. It's
Well, and
valuable.
then, you know, helping us, there's the potential in theater to help us deal with difficulty and find a way to transform it. You know, playwrights don't just leave us hanging. They often have an arc that they take us on. And then you as a director, and Charles with his sets, and Joanne with her costumes, and the actors, we go on a journey, and it's often one that helps us tackle and find a way to work with like what it is to be human. Not so
Exactly.
easy.
Yeah, one of the plays that you were very involved in
Yeah.
that speaks directly to that was 2019's production of Every Brilliant Thing, which was out at the Hesperus camp with a one-woman show with Sarah Severson. And you were very involved with that contemporary play that speaks to the human experience. Can you refresh the audience about that and what your role in that was?
Sure. Well, first of all, I hope whoever's watching got a chance to see it and be in the room as Sarah Severson was, you know, weaving this gorgeous web of the human experience. But yeah, I feel so lucky that you asked me to be involved because it brought these two loves of mine together, one theater, lifelong love, and then also using theater to deal with what's emotionally most challenging. I mean, this play was from the one woman show, an adult who takes us on a journey back to when she was a child, and the impact that her mother's experience of severe depression had on her. And I think there was a scene where she was in the hospital, the character Sarah played as a child in that moment. she was in the hospital because her mother had attempted suicide, and taking us through her journey of coping with the impact of that and her own experience of depression, her mother's eventual suicide, and Sarah's character, learning to reach out for help and support to contend with, the magnitude of this. And, Sarah just did an exquisite job. And it was part scripted and part improv, which was just magical for the audience to be so involved. And then I got to be there, thanks to you asking me, as kind of a community liaison. So I reached out to community mental health organizations, told them about the play, gathered resources so that we could have them there in the room at the entryway, so people could, have crisis line numbers at hand, know who to reach out to for support should they be dealing with something challenging. And then, as I'm a counselor, mental health professional, so I was in the room just to be there to facilitate if anyone was having challenges that this touched something in their own experience. So it was really a beautiful
Yeah, we
experience.
were so lucky to have you do that. It was such an alignment, as you said, of reality with this fictional story and of your two passions, and people were so touched by that play. And remember the bulletin board where at the end of the play they could all write down what they considered to be a brilliant thing. It was really a theater moment that meant a lot to a lot of us.
So the beauty of it was that this play dealt with some of the most difficult experiences we have as humans, depression, suicide, and did it with so much laughter, so much just heartfelt, gut, engaging laughter, and then looking at also what's most beautiful in life, what's most brilliant. And so it gave resources to all of us, even as we were on that journey. That was really special.
Yeah, what a show. Well,
Yeah.
you've been on stage a couple of times too, with us in Wizard of Oz. Back, was that 2014 maybe? Or
Maybe.
was Mandy's senior year? Was that 14?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then in Dead Man's Cell Phone, which was Sarah Rule play, very on the edge of being surreal. And would you tell us about your experience being on stage and in those plays? Something that you remember perhaps about?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Those are real highlights for me of the last 10 years. And I had acted when I was in high school and college, but had never been on the boards since then. And so what got me to audition for Wizard of Oz was the fact that my daughter Mandy was going to be in the play, in the musical. And I mean, it makes me sound kind of like this awful stalker mom, but I just wanted to spend more time with her and have that experience with her, because of course she was graduating high school and leaving town. And so that was the initial inspiration. And it was just a delight and a joy to get to have that experience together. But it was so much more than that. I mean, it was just plain out fun. I was reflecting, plays are called play. A play is called a play for a reason. It's really fun. And I had a professor of developmental psychology when I got my master's in counseling, who had been a middle school theater teacher. And she talked about in this developmental psych class how important theater was for middle schoolers, because developmentally they were trying on different roles, and this was a really safe and positive way to do that. All of which is true, and for high schoolers certainly. But it's actually true throughout your whole life, that the more we get caught in our roles, whether that be what we do professionally, or my role as a mother or a daughter or a partner, the more constricted our life becomes. So to get to be in my 50s and get on stage and wear costumes and be a witch and be a chorus person and, dance in overalls, just I think was really healthy and fun for me.
Dancing in overalls is always a healthy thing to do.
Yeah, every now and again I have to pull them out and, start the barnyard dance.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. That's and it was so precious, that show. There were quite a few um, parent-student combos where the parent got to act with their child, which is really fun when that happens. I love the shows that are very cross-generational. We had shows where the youngest are not quite in their teens and the oldest are 80s, and it's every decade in between. That's so fun.
Well, and goes back to your question about why support theater and merely players in particular, but you give us who are involved and then the audience who comes this experience of connecting with and getting to know people who we may not otherwise have a chance to, right? So it's enriched my life so much. And I hear this from audience members, to see different kids and then follow their growing up and then get to know people older than me and younger. And it's enriched, this community for me to live in. And I hear this over and over again.
It's really beautiful. There's been times throughout the course of Merely Players that things haven't gone exactly as we planned, and your great problem-solving strategies helped us through. Most notably, I was remembering back that the season of 2017-2018, which just ended up being crazy. We opened with Baskerville. Great. That went as planned.
Wow.
Our next show was A Wrinkle in Time, which we had slated to go up in January. And then Disney updated or moved the release of A Wrinkle in Time. And we got the word from the company who held the rights that we had to do the show before December or we couldn't do it for 2 years. So it was scrambling and moving the show up. Then later in the year, we were scheduled to do Fiddler on the Roof, and that got pulled because it had to go on a national tour. So we had to come up with a different show. We did Man of La Mancha. And then to close out the season, we were planning to do A Midsummer Night's Dream at James Ranch. And that was the year of terrible fires. We were unable to do it there, and we had to move it. So I was on the phone with you so much through that season to Janet, we have a problem. You were just such a great sounding board through all that. And I wondered if you would be willing to share some of your problem-solving techniques or strategies, because I have found you to be a very sound and reliable person to talk to.
Well, you may be giving me too much credit, because basically my MO with you and as on the board is just to let you know I have your back and to listen and to be that steady, one step removed observer. You have really reliable instincts and creative problem solving skills. So I get to just listen and give you my 2 cents on things. But I was thinking about what I do professionally and what theater really highlights and cultivates as a human capacity that's so valuable is, so I would put it from the perspective of my work, that it's not so much what happens, but how you relate to it. And to notice when you get caught in reactivity, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? This is terrible. How could this be happening? So that's reactivity. And then to find some way, and there are lots of ways, to kind of get settled enough to find a creative way of responding, and I think theater and mindfulness practice have that in common. I mean, listening to Kate Ishai and her role as a stage manager, and Maggie, our Beanie Scott. And as a stage manager, like, that's what you're doing. You expect things to not go as planned. And then how do you meet those challenges in the moment? So this is where theater and life, have a lot in common. And it's just an honor to get to work with someone so skilled in, finding, what do we do next? What's smart? What's wise?
It's so funny. We were saying, oh, so in the future when we sell tickets, we'll just say, we don't know when we're going to do it or where we're going to do it or what we're going to do, but will you buy a ticket? And it all worked out. It all worked out. It was just so funny that it was every show.
Well, funny and probably a little stressful, but I have to say, like, basically we did sell tickets, and our reliable, like, steadfast audience members, like, they weren't worried. They just went with it. And I think that really is a sign of the trust you've built in your ability to meet what's difficult and roll with it.
Wow. Well, thanks for having my back.
It is my privilege.
Speaking of having our backs, you've got our backs right now as we have Merely Underground, our unexpected pandemic blessing, this lovely place that we are renting as a storage facility now and converting into a theater. Would you share your thoughts on that? Next step for Merely Players?
Well, it's just utterly thrilling, deeply thrilling. And I guess from my perspective, I see it as the wisest step towards ensuring that you and Charles get to keep making the exquisite art you make for as long as possible. Because up to this point, so much energy and expense and time and, blood, sweat, and tears has gone into rehearsing in one place, bringing the props and the costumes and blocking it in one space, and then each rehearsal bringing stuff, right? And then shifting to the performance venue and having to reblock, and then Charles building sets in your garage and driveway, and then piecemeal taking them apart and transporting them and schlepping costumes from storage area. I mean, so much work. And it's a joy to me. I mean, we were just there yesterday, right? Looking at paint colors, and all of the costumes are there. And well, almost. Joanne said some of them are still in her homes. All of basically the sets and props. And, for you to have that there, I just think it'll let you and Charles keep doing what you do for as long as you want to do it.
Yeah, that's the goal. And just to have something to offer our community. I can't wait till we have it done and get to show people. And I think people will love it. It's a really quirky and exciting space.
But I would say this, like, less quirky than I thought and more full of possibility. And let's face it, you have done wonders in a swimming pool, in a barn, like, I don't know where your other top, like, quirky venues have been, but you do quirky really well. Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of possibility in this, basically a black box, right?
Yeah. Except we're painting it white, so we're making a white box. Yes, but yes.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, so when you aren't merely playing, what do you like to do in life?
Well, I've been hiking lately. I mean, we're in some ways limited, right, in terms of our external pursuits, but I did get a hula hoop for Christmas, so I'm learning to hula hoop. I haven't quite yet, like, done the arms and the legs all at the same time, but who knows? There's plenty of room for improvement.
Awesome. Is it a big one or a little one?
It's a big one. Oh, yeah.
Good. Those are the best to learn on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I took up juggling when I turned 50 just because I've got a lot of like creative souls in my family. My husband's a musician and an excellent cook, and my daughter's an actor, and my son plays the drums. And I figured I needed a party trick, so.
I can't wait to come over and see you juggle and hula hoop simultaneously.
Maybe
Please.
I should try that. Yeah, I'll go in that direction.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, there's so this idea of trying new things and keeping fresh is an amazing bit of advice. If you were looking back to your childhood, or a former self, you don't have to be a child, is there some advice that you would give a younger self?
Yeah, don't be so hard on yourself. I think it's one of the advantages of living longer, more years, is that can be something that we learn if it's not something we already inhabit as a younger self. But a lot of wasted energy for me, worrying about being good enough or, worthy enough. And yeah, not to be so hard on myself.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Kate is shy, gets to ask you a question because she was last guest. So I'm going to read her question. It says, Janet is always wonderfully present and kind. You notice that when you work with her, that she is always there in the moment. And Kate's question for you is, how do you manage to stay grounded and present with all this chaos going on this year?
Aw, Kate. Well, I'm touched by the question. This has been like a real sort of mold breaking year for all of us. And I think for me, because I started practicing meditation when I was 16 and have practiced in some form or another for these many decades, that there has been the opportunity to see that some of what I've been cultivating in terms of practices have really proven themselves to be very reliable. What I referred to a little bit before, that it's not so much what's happening out here, but how we respond mentally, emotionally, in terms of our actions, that can really make the difference between the weight of the stress we feel and the relative ease we can inhabit. So I've continued to practice for sure. And that then it's not separate in a way, but it's kind of worth highlighting on its own, is that it's become really apparent to me that we all need to cut ourselves a lot of slack this year. There's been so much loss and so much struggle and suffering, personally in whatever way that takes, and then nationally and globally. And so part of the practices that I've been cultivating for a long time involve just being kind, and how radical that is. There's a quote from someone I read that says, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle." And boy, ain't it the truth right now. So
Yeah,
tried to put that into action.
that's beautiful advice. Thank you. We'll get a little free session here.
Well, honestly, Mona, back to the very first question you asked of why do I show up whenever you ask me, however you ask me, is because some of the things that you offer and teach and embody and cultivate in all of your, in this company and everyone you work with, are these qualities about being human. It's not just about being in the theater, but of hard work, of discipline, of giving it your best, whatever that is, of being generous with one another and kind and working collaboratively. And those are just the best lessons I know of. So a real bow to you and to Charles for creating a company that lives and breathes this.
Wow. Well, thank you. Yeah, we're all just living our stories, and what a joy to have a company and an art form where we can tell the stories. So I love that. Well, gosh, I could just talk to you for
It's really fun.
yeah. Like, how long have you guys got that are listening to the episode? Because this one is going to go 3.5 hours. But since we can't,
Yeah.
now you get to pick the guest for our next episode. So, who
Hmm.
would you like to tag?
Well, just to say that there were, I'd come across the list. Oh, I want to have that person. Oh, this person, I'd love to hear more. But I ended up settling on Gianna Gomar.
Yeah.
Gianna, you're it, baby. And I got to know Gianna. This is part of the way you help form community here. I probably would never have crossed paths with Gianna, but we were in Dead Man's Cell Phone together. And she did an unbelievably marvelous scene where her character was drunk and in a conversation. And I think you directed her to, in this sort of drunken dialogue, monologue, to fall into Spanish and bring that in. And she did. And it's really hard to be sober and act drunk. And she did it speaking Spanish, which is part of her multilingual, multicultural background. So I would love to hear more from her.
Oh, I would love to hear more from her too. Great choice. Thanks. Well, Janet, thank you for the soul that you are, and the women in your family are precious and dear to me through meeting your daughter, Amanda, and getting to teach her acting lessons and grow her friendship with her, and she directed Macbeth with me. And then I got to meet you, and I have this close relationship with you. And now over the years, I've begun to know your wonderful mother, Suzanne, who we have a kind of a pen pal relationship with. She is a dynamic, intelligent woman, and I love seeing that generational flow between the three of you. So what a gift in my life your family is.
And
And
you and ours, Mona.
well, and I wish you just joy and fun throughout this day, and we're going to get through the global pandemic and get back on stage again. So,
Such a treat to get to talk with you. Thank you.
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wisdom, integrity, compassion, and intelligence. Merely Players is so lucky to have Janet Curry on the team. And we're lucky to have you too. So stay smart, stay safe, stay creative, and we'll see you next time.